Okay, so it seems that we got some pretty crazy information to do with Ironmouse and obviously the VShojo situation. Obviously, we've been covering this, for the past couple of days, as there's been a lot of information trickling in from Ironmouse as she finds out more to do with this case, and also just reveals more to do with this case as she gets more comfortable with revealing to her fans what really is going on as she speaks to lawyers and things like that who tell her, what she can and can't say, and also telling her new things that they found out for evidence to do with the whole VShojo case that is going on at the moment. And obviously it seems like she's actually come out and talked about a little bit more to do with VShojo, which is pretty crazy. Now obviously this was over on a clip or on a stream with Vein Gang. If you don't know who they are, it's Sea Dog, Nianis, and Aethel. Obviously they are back together again, obviously after all of the VShojo stuff. It kind of drew them apart a little bit, but it seems like they have been reconnecting, playing games like Peak, and I think they play some Uno or something like the other day. Those streams have been great, and yeah, it seems like she's revealed a little bit of information. Now, context for this clip, they were talking about obviously Niana's signing up to some kind of website or whatever using her email, and well, this is what Ironmouse obviously followed up with in this clip.
Yeah, dude.
What will they get?
You think they're gonna pay for your email server?
Yeah. Bro, I lost
shit.
access to that like the second I left, bro. That was like the first thing they did. They pressed a big red button, like.
They just deleted your email. They're like, nope.
Oh my god, bro.
Funny thing, I never really had access to my email. Like, it was connected to somebody else's email in the company, and I had to every time I wanted to log into something and they had to do the code thing, I had to message them like, hello, can I have the code that was sent to your phone because I really want to
Didn't have
log in."
access to your email?
No.
Oh my god.
What?
What the fuck?
No. And I'm like
Bro, you guys are like those North Korean people that get on Google and just click around you got no access to literally they just click around
You're
on
like,
the
put in your
homepage
email.
when
You're like, I
people
got no idea
come
what that
visit,
is. I have no idea what that email is.
Uh,
You just eternally stuck playing the first 10 minutes of mini clip games because you can't make an account.
It's a fake email. Oh man.
GoldMathGames.com.
I never told
What do we
anybody,
do?
but now you know.
Oh,
well, I bought the game. I got the Ubisoft.
So yeah, that's essentially it. Now, obviously, it's a very interesting clip as, yeah, she mentions the fact that she didn't have access to her email over at VShojo, which is crazy, It is quite common practice for a lot of, talent agencies and just agencies in general to have a separate email for you that obviously you can then, sponsors can then email, and then the talent agency, people will then sort it out for you, right? And, usually with those emails, you don't have much access over it, and they will try to just find you sponsorships and things like that. But in this case, it seems like this email that Ironmouse was using that they had was being used for everything. She mentioned the fact that every time she got like a verification code, like 2-factor or whatever, she would have to call up this person to obviously ask them for the code, which is pretty crazy, Now, obviously, I don't know why she didn't create just a different email for accounts and things like that, but it is pretty insane that, she didn't even, do that in the first place. Now, again, maybe there was reasons restricting her from doing that, which would make this situation even more crazy, as, that would be very restrictive to not allow your talents to have their own emails. Now, obviously it's a terrible situation, and obviously it's something that keeps getting worse and worse. It just kind of shows you the manipulation behind VShojo at the moment. People saying, how the hell did Mouse not have access to her own email? That's so convoluted and ridiculous. They said, whoever came up with making Mouse look like Plankton is a genius. Obviously they talk about the kind of image there. But obviously, yeah, no, a lot of people have been talking about this, saying it's not unusual for agencies to give and control access to the talent's social media and email. Never join an agency without careful understanding. Now, that is true, but also at the same time, a lot of, at least my experience with a lot of talent agencies and things, the emails usually only pertain to sponsorships, right? I have a email where I only get sponsorships, like me personally. And obviously if I was a part of an agency, if I was a part of a agency that controlled your emails and stuff, they would then have access to that email, or well, not my email, probably they'll probably make a new one, right? And they would only get sponsorship things and message me with like, hey, we got a sponsorship off of this, do you want to take it, etc., etc. And then any other emails as well, they'll probably communicate that to you as well. But in terms of personal accounts, like, my YouTube or whatever, my Twitter, including all of those emails, that is not the same email as my business one, which I think is something that agencies should not control, and it is not usual for them to control it. You know, it's usual for them to control sponsorship emails, but it's not usual for them to control emails where you have to have your two-factor and things like that. That should be your own personal email, not controlled by an agency, which I think is pretty crazy. And obviously, yeah, a lot of people have been discussing that as well, saying everyone else in VShojo can access their email while the biggest talent can't. Remember, VShojo suck, not because they're corpo, it's because they are a bad corpo with bad people. Now, that is also a very interesting point. I haven't seen anybody talk about that, but I guess, you know, maybe if a lot of, you know, other VShojo members could access their email and Ironmouse was one of the few that couldn't, that would also be very interesting. I think that was obviously could be a problem. And I'm pretty sure this all stems off of Ironmouse's like early career. If you guys remember, essentially what happened was, you know, obviously Ironmouse couldn't really handle a lot of the finances, a lot of the sponsorships and things like that. So that's when she offloaded it all to VShojo for them to deal with, because obviously she was going through a pretty tough time with her like illness and stuff like that. So again, you know, it wasn't, you know, too great, but obviously VShojo stepped in and, you know, appeared to be like the good guy, but we all know what kind of happened in the end. But, you know, I think this also comes off the back of, you know, them controlling a lot of what she did as they were, you know, in quotation marks, helping her out during the start of her career. So maybe that was just a kind of follow on from that. So they had access to her email whenever that stuff was going on and just never gave it back, which obviously is very interesting. Obviously, if you're saying true, the premise of letting talents retain their IP and not having to rebrand is a no-brainer. That is a substantial cost. Oh, no, sorry. Yeah, no, they're saying, does anybody remember like 10-ish years ago when gaming YouTubers and stuff were all in agencies and started to leave to become independent? I feel like that's what's happening with VTubers. They said, disagree. I think VTubers have changed from a niche thing into a common thing. There's two types of VTubers in the idol route and the content creator route. Basically, the only reason you join a corpo is to focus on the idol stuff, because indie VTubers don't need a corpo to become a big content creator anymore. You know, obviously, people say, true, the premise of letting the talents retain the IP and not having to rebrand is a no-brainer. That is a substantial cost saving. VShojo wanting to grow their company, also a no-brainer. They could have even done sponsorships at 80% to 20%, 80 for the talents, and simply grew by onboarding a lot of new talents. They could have onboarded 10 to 20 a month, even with the Nux controversy, but for whatever reason, them recruiting anyone was not a thing for the company that supposedly wanted to bury their competition. They could have onboarded like 300 people within 3 years and 400 more, 5 years, and the only service you would have to do is secure sponsorships and perhaps provide resources to assist the talents to grow organically. Now, obviously, that is a suggestion that someone's put in there. I'm guessing, you know, it's a suggestion on how VShojo could have been run better, which I think is true. I think they could have maybe went down the kind of talent agency route and maybe had their kind of core group, including like Ironmouse, people like that, you know, the people that were a part of VShojo, the core group that actually, you know, VTube under VShojo, but then also have this kind of sub kind of section where they bring in as many VTubers as possible, maybe even content creators as well, where they can essentially act as a sponsorship kind of middleman and get some kind of profit off of that, because obviously we know they were struggling with money. You know, that could have been a very easy way to gain some money for them, but obviously, yeah, obviously it's, you know, it's VShojo, they didn't think about it, and now they are in the situation that they're in right now. And obviously, you know, I only knew Nanas through the controversy, but now I'm a fan. Love how everyone is reconciliating, which, yeah, is obviously great, and I'm really glad to see that they are all interacting, and obviously Ironmouse feels comfortable enough to obviously share a lot of this information, as, yeah, it can obviously be a little bit difficult to share this kind of stuff, especially whenever you have all the pressure of, like, legal stuff and maybe getting into trouble if you say too much and things like that. But obviously, yeah, it is great, and we are still getting more kind of updates from Ironmouse. But let me know down in the comments what you guys think about this, because again, I'm very interested in what you guys have to say about, you know, obviously them keeping her email, and whether you think it was a bad thing or if you think it's not really that big of a deal. I do think it is a big deal if they were controlling a lot of her personal social stuff and things like that, where she had to access like verification and things. I think that's pretty crazy. But for sponsorships, I can understand. So again, let me know what you guys think. And yeah, go to GameSubs, use my code Kaza, get 10% off again. We got a ton of really cool stuff over there. I definitely recommend checking it out. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. That's all. See ya.